Story 1. I would be serene and unbothered. I would be kind to all my coworkers, clock in and out on time, and tell no one. $1 billion buys a lot of patience. Story 2. It's amazing how good not giving a fuck can feel. So I would keep working, just with a lot less angst about rocking the political boat. Story 3. It is fine. I just pay off my boss and coast for a year. Story 4. I do not see the issue. I would go to work, keep doing the same things, and avoid advertising that I have money. I would give decent notice when I plan to leave. There is no reason to give only 2 weeks since I have no problem with the people there. Story 5. I would probably continue working for free because it is my family business. We need the help and it is very laid back. Story 6. Not too bad. I walk and bathe dogs for a living, so I would keep that job because I need some responsibility. Story 7. I have actually seen this. In this case, it was someone who won $2 million in the lottery. I worked with him, but this was a while ago, so I will call him Dave. The first thing he did was go to a financial advisor. The advisor pointed out that Dave had worked for the same company for 19.5 years, and in Australia you are entitled to long service leave after 20 years. The advisor told Dave to work another 6 months and to buy everything now that was tax deductible, such as a new 4-wheel drive and new tools. Dave did exactly as he was told and came to work for 6 months. Everyone knew the situation. Dave was normal and just did his job. He did not burn any bridges with the company or his workmates. At the end of the 6 months, he received his long service leave and all his tax deductions. He estimates that the advice made him an extra $250,000. Story 8. A 20-year-old preschool would be fully stocked with supplies, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system would be replaced, and staff would be paid well. Heck yeah. Story 9. The same way I have kept my job for the last 10 years. I just show up and do it. Story 10. $1 billion is a lot of money. The company I work for is worth $500 million, which is money I will never see in my lifetime. I could buy the company and become my boss's superior, and I would still be extremely wealthy with more liquid assets than I could ever handle. Story 11. Stay-at-home father. There is always chaos, controlled or not. Story 12. Not at all. My coworkers barely know me, so I would be able to hide it pretty well. Story 13. I would keep my job just to appear normal. I work from home anyway. I would immediately hire landscapers for my yard and house cleaners to come at least 2 to 3 times a week. I am a single parent of 2 teenage boys. Story 14. I am a teacher. It would be the best year ever. I would pay for everything out of pocket. Bring in guest speakers, buy new clothes for my unhoused students, pay for haircuts for all my students instead of only a few, provide catered lunches for my co-teachers, and plan amazing field trips. I would leave like a champion and start a scholarship fund for my students too. Story 15. I have heard that a typical lottery winner keeps their current job for a year. That gives you time to plan how to manage the money and to hire a lawyer and security. You will also want to determine how much you will pay in taxes in the following months, since a lottery win is taxable. Finally, staying employed can help divert attention if anyone tries to pressure you to give them money. Story 16. Perfect. I could take a year to find a worthy replacement and train them. Story 17. It would be fine. I love my job. I would probably keep it for at least a year even if I did not have to. Story 18. I'd be able to stick it out because I'd have a light at the end of the tunnel. Story 19. It depends on whether they know. If they do not, I take it easy for a year. If they do, I will probably be laid off. Story 20. I have about 8 months worth of leave at the moment, so it won't be too bad. Story 21. I have been at my current job for a little over 4 years. I absolutely hate working there, but if you told me I would be a billionaire if I worked there for another year, I would be so happy I would work both shifts. Story 22. I teach 8th grade. It is pretty chaotic, but since I am kind of here anyway, I could definitely make it. Story 23. Quitting your job suddenly and making an abrupt lifestyle change will be chaotic. People may become suspicious about where your funds come from, which could be dangerous. Story 24. That would not be a problem at all. I honestly would keep my job as long as I could without anyone knowing. I love what I do. Most people would hate my position because I work with the public, but I am a people person. I'm happy. I try to make someone's day and do something nice every day. Yes, the public does annoy me to no end sometimes, but we all have our days. Sometimes we all just need and want someone to be nice to us. I would give my employer more than enough notice and even offer to train my replacement. I would have additional time to get my affairs in order and make sure my family was taken care of, set up trusts, get a lawyer and a certified public accountant, and so forth. Story 25. Not really. I would find secret ways to enjoy my money. Drugs seem pretty fun. Story 26. I was laid off a week ago. Being unemployed for a year in exchange for becoming a billionaire sounds like a pretty sweet gig, to be honest. Story 27. It would be easy, as my current job is not bad in the grand scheme of things. Story 28. I would take a leave of absence from my job for as long as I could. If I did have to return, I would give zero fucks about the job and do absolutely nothing. Story 29. If I could bring my work anywhere, I would hire someone to do it. I still technically keep my job. Story 30. I love my job. Working with students and seeing advancements in digital health is amazing. I would fund some research of my own. Story 31. That is not a bummer. I am retired already. I can keep doing that. Story 32. What chaos. You are assuming I would tell people. If I won the lottery, trust me, nobody would know. I like my job, so working it one more year would not be an issue. Story 33. Easy. I love this. I am a high school teacher, and I would give small scholarships to students I like. Story 34. I spend a week training someone to do my job. I make appearances in video meetings and provide support to my ghost worker when needed. I pay them generously for 1 year of work, and then I go on my merry way. I work remotely. Story 35. No one would know, but there would be signs. I would actually do everything to make life as smooth as possible for my team. I work with a great group who deserve the best. Story 36. I do research and will probably continue this work indefinitely, without worrying about applying for grants, and enjoying the freedom to choose my research topics. Story 37. I would secretly buy the boss a new car, but I would not tell him where the money came from. I would pay off higher-ups behind others' backs to make me the supervisor or manager of my department. As a truck driver on the same route each day, I would start showing up and choosing a different route for a change of scenery. I would make up my own runs and routes like Barassa Flario, where I skip deliveries I dislike and only deliver for customers I like, and have another employee handle the rest. I would start my day in Angaston and Nuriupa before heading to Murray Bridge and then down to Victor Harbor. I would also spend $100,000 to personally hire an assistant to load and unload my truck so I only have to drive. In my final year of work, I would arrange more company dinners and paid days off for the staff simply because I felt like it. Story 38. Wow. I now work at a school where leaks and doors are fixed right away. Pretty cool. Story 39. I can already tolerate an enormous amount of nonsense. $1 billion would buy almost anything, and nothing would bother me if I knew I had that much in the bank. Story 40. It is fine. I would do my job and be kind to my coworkers. I would really put that unlimited paid time off policy to the test, though. Story 41. It will be just fine. Go to work, play with the kids, tell no one. I have already been planning to stay at this job for at least 2 more years while I finish my bachelor's degree, maybe longer to see me through my master's degree. Besides, I love my job. Staying is no problem. Story 42. I would definitely support my current employer and become a silent partner. The owner is a good person. I would be delighted to provide funds to help the business. Story 43. I am walking on site next week with a truckload of every Milwaukee tool ever made. Story 44. I still plan to keep my job after I win tonight's Powerball. I will work my way up to the career I want, and I will be happy that retirement will no longer be a concern. Story 45. My job is fun. I would probably keep doing it part-time. Story 46. I would shower my coworkers with more kindness and try to make their year before I leave as enjoyable as possible. There are some backstabbers and brown nosers, but I think that behavior results from their environment. Some may ask why I do not do that now, but it comes down to my available time and energy. I do not have time to be extra kind and show a coworker how to do something for the 20th time every day. I am always happy to do so when I am preparing to leave because I no longer care if it harms my performance or leads to being reprimanded by my boss. Story 47. I would be interested. I like many aspects of my job. My main issues are that it does not pay me enough, and I have to juggle it with school and responsibilities as a teaching assistant. If pay were not a factor, my quality of life would improve dramatically. Story 48. $1 billion? I am glad I enjoy my job. I might even keep working for more than a year. I know my work best friend, who is about to have her second child, will get a real house. Story 49. I would be happy. I work as a chef in a cafe. Most shifts are finished by 3 p.m. I would stay longer because I enjoy it so much. Story 51. Buy 2 houses. 2. Rent one out and move into the other. 3. Put the rest of the money into term deposits. 4. Work normally for 1 whole year at my retail job. 5. Hand in my 2 weeks' notice and enjoy being mean to customers who are mean to me. 6. Retire. 7. Profit. Story 51. If friends, family, or coworkers found out I suddenly had $1 billion in disposable income, it might get a little crazy. There are plenty of people in my life who are experiencing various degrees of financial hardship because of poor life choices, failing health, and other issues. Now I'm in a difficult situation where I am subsidizing people's lives. I will give cash gifts to people with health problems all day long. However, what about people who want me to invest in their great idea or those who are in financial hardship because of their poor decisions? When should I consider my safety if I tell someone no but they are desperate and may end up hurting me or my family? Story 52. Not chaotic at all. I have unlimited paid time off and actually enjoy the work. Story 53. Things would suddenly be much less stressful and matter much less. Story 54. I own my business. After investing some money in it, I give my employees a couple of $1 million each and then charge my customers almost nothing. Story 55. At that point, I might as well buy my current job. I am the owner now. Story 56. I founded and run a non-profit organization. Every problem is now solved, and I still have a significant amount of money. Story 57. My job is already a breeze, so giving me absolute financial security will not change the work. It will just take a load off my shoulders. Also, consider the interest on $1 billion invested in the stock market or held in a high-yield savings account. Story 58. Man, this would be the easiest year of my life working at this job. I would be the happy-go-lucky worker, nice to everyone and friendly. But once that year is up, I'm out. I'm not saying a word. I'm just going to disappear and live on an island somewhere, unbothered. Story 59. It would be pretty smooth sailing, since I have been unemployed for 1.5 years. Story 60. Give all the money away except for $500 million and live humbly but comfortably, if the money does not go to my head. Story 61. Absolute chaos. Succession planning is already a major topic at work. Trying to transfer 32 years of industry and company knowledge in 1 year would be unrealistic. Story 62. Easy. I would tell the owners I am not doing any work but must remain on the payroll, and that they should pay me my wage plus the cost of a recruiter to find a replacement. Story 63. Oh my God. A treat. I'm going to walk into a dinner already prepared, a completely clean house, and with very few responsibilities. I'll listen to my podcasts and take care of my tasks. My small team at home will make it work. Story 64. I pay someone to keep me in my role for a year and to do what I want. Billionaires do not follow rules. Story 65. I pick up the on-call shifts from all my coworkers. Without those, my regular 40-hour workweek is child's play. I actually sleep through the nights and no longer have 7-day workweeks. Not to mention I have 2 months of vacation saved, so I could take off 1/6 of the year, plus whatever paid time off I accrued. Story 66. Perfectly easy. Laughing out loud. I am self-employed, so I just keep chugging along until payday. Story 67. The number one rule after winning the lottery is to change nothing for 6 months. Based on how long it would take me to fully begin my plans to become a billionaire, I would probably keep working for a year. I would not care about my paid time off, and my job offers a lot, so I would definitely take advantage of it on my way out. Laughing out loud. Story 68. Pulling up to work in a daily driver Ferrari would suit me for a year. Story 69. It's the same shit, different day, but my out-of-work life has completely transformed. Story 70. I like my job most of the time. My boss is great. I work from home but have amazing colleagues. I would be happy to set them up for success in my role. Story 71. I quite like my job and rarely see most of my coworkers because we are spread across different headquarters. It is pretty relaxed, especially since I would be hiring a housekeeper and a chef. The one thing I do not like about my job, the commute, would be less of an issue. I might also hire a driver and nap on my way to work. Story 72. Well, I'm on disability, so my life is made with billions of dollars. Story 73. I am a realtor. I set my own hours. I plan to work from home for the next year and keep a relaxed schedule. I will stop the grind and do my work more casually from home. Story 74. I am paying everyone around me to do my work while I shop online for my new everything. It would be very chill. Story 75. I would enjoy the good parts of the job much more if I did not worry about the future. Story 76. Not chaotic at all. I like my job and my coworkers, and I would not want to resign right away. I would not leave until I knew what I would be doing next. Having no obligations sounds fun until you realize you have nothing to work toward and your life feels meaningless. Story 77. I do not have any issues. I would do my job and never tell anyone about the money. Story 78. I actually enjoy my job and would be happy to continue. Now I can do it without stressing about getting enough hours to survive. It seems like a win-win. Story 79. I have no problem going to work for a year. It would keep me busy. I work with my best friend, so I would buy him food every day. Story 80. I'm a full-time student and won't finish for another 2 years, so not much will change. Next semester, I have to start going to the university campus for classes, which is about a 50-minute drive each way. If I were a billionaire, I would not mind that commute nearly as much because I could either move closer to campus or buy something fun to drive. Story 81. I would have no problem completing 365 days before leaving. $1 billion would definitely cover any pension and health benefits I would lose by leaving early. Story 82. Not really. I would have no issues. I am not social at all and would not have a problem keeping this to myself for a year. I would tell my boss that I came into some money and will be leaving on a specified date. My wife, on the other hand, will be locked in the basement for 1 year because she will not keep her mouth shut. Story 83. Tell no one, pay off all debts, and plan how to use the money. It really is not that exciting. Story 84. If I am unemployed, do I have to look for a job? Or can I remain unemployed? Story 85. Chaotic. I am buying a house on the other side of the fence from my workplace so I can walk to work. My Porsche is my car for driving to the gym, and I will have a large sport utility vehicle or pickup truck for groceries and other errands. I will also have some dogs. Knowing I have $1 billion, I would not have a care in the world. Story 86. I work remotely, so I would be working from many 5-star resorts all over the world. Story 87. It would be fine, especially if I could do what I have been doing. Of the last 13 months, I have spent 8 months sitting in a recliner and 4 months working at a call center. I broke my leg at work. Story 88. I can take as much time off from my job as I want, so this won't be a problem. Story 89. Can I bribe my boss to let me hang out and do very little? Story 90. Laughing out loud. I'm unemployed right now. Does that mean I get to be an unemployed billionaire? Or do I not get to play because I don't have a job? Story 91. It would be fine as long as I kept my mouth shut and did not buy new shoes. I could make it work by stuffing the toes of a pair someone gave me with tissue and just tolerating the extra clumsiness. I mostly do odd jobs for various extended family members. The second I bought new shoes, word would get back to my alcoholic cousin that I had been spending money, and he would never stop pestering me for cash to fund his habit, although he would lie and claim it was for something else. I help out his mother, and he lives in the apartment just below hers. It would be worth stumbling around in two big shoes or wearing my leaky old ones to avoid setting off that mess. Story 92. It is not chaotic at all. I would rent an apartment up the street so I could walk to work. After that, I would focus on starting the career I want. Story 93. All the care would go out the door. I would still try to do right by my immediate manager, as he is an all-right guy. But I would not be as meticulous as I am now. Story 94. If I am allowed to be fired and to keep $1 billion, I will simply not show up. If I am not allowed to be fired, then I will be a model employee for exactly 365 days. Story 95. That is what I would do anyway, so it is no different from what I have planned. People who suddenly quit and disappear invite trouble. You must present a reasonable chain of events that remove suspicion. Plan carefully and be cautious. It will be hard, but it is only one more year of doing a job I do not mind with people I enjoy being around. Story 96. Having $1 billion would make everything in my life easier and much less chaotic than it is now. Story 97. I would act the same as I always do, but with less pressure because I do not care about being promoted anymore. I would probably spend the time putting together training materials and setting them up for success when I leave. There is no reason for me to be rude to them. Story 98. I am a stay-at-home mom, so that is fine. I will spend the month planning family vacations for after we get our billions. Story 99. I can now afford to pay people to take care of all the tasks outside of work that I don't want to. Lawn care, gardening, housework, and shopping. I may actually like my job. Story 100. I work at a food bank that feeds hundreds of thousands of people. I manage operations and ensure they receive the funding they need. Story 101. Well, I'm disabled and don't work, so yay about that for once. Laughing out loud. Story 102. I give every person at the branch $1 million to walk out and unionize. Fuck the legal consequences. It is not about the money. It is about sending a message. Story 103. I am a stay-at-home dad. Life is already great, so adding billions would be the icing on the cake. Story 104. Not at all. I would be so nonplussed. I would show up, work to expectations, and go home. If they decide they want to fire me for some nonsense, it's no sweat off my back. Story 105. Fucking cake. I am coasting and then bouncing. I work in heavy industrial construction, so I am never on a job longer than that anyway. I move from company to company for each project, so I do not form deep relationships with my coworkers. Story 106. I would spend the year documenting my projects and training my backup to fully take over if given the opportunity. I like my job and would not want to harm my colleagues at work. I work for a library, so your mileage may vary. Story 107. I like my job even though it can get stressful occasionally. If I could walk away right now, I would still keep working, if only because I need something to occupy a significant portion of my day. Story 108. I actually really like my job, so it would not be hard. I get along with everyone I work with and get to travel for free. I could make it a year and would probably give my coworkers a giant going-away party. At my last job, I counted down every day and gave them a rude farewell when I left. Story 109. If I didn't have to worry about making money, my job would be so much better. I'd probably just fix all the cash flow issues and work way less. Story 110. Utter chaos. I would hire multiple people to work directly for me to get multiple chronically underinvested projects off the ground. I would launch a new company and staff it fully. Within a few years, I would be making millions, and since I would already have more money than I would ever need, I would pay everyone exorbitant salaries and host extravagant company parties. I would have Aaron Franklin cook for our company picnic and hire the Foo Fighters for entertainment. I would sock away 10 million to live on and spend the other 990 million on making my company the most epic adventure ever. Story 111. Considering I do not work except in the home, I cannot imagine it would be all that different. Story 112. Not at all. I would tell my business partner that he needs to buy me out or we should sell. A year is plenty of time to sort it out. Story 113. This will be the quickest and least stressful year in that job. Story 114. I would pay off the business to keep me employed for a year. Story 115. Do I have to keep my job? I do not have to be good, laughing out loud. I will just do the bare minimum. Story 116. I would pay someone to repair things around my house and fix my car. Story 117. I am a film producer. I will happily keep my job and self-fund my projects. Story 118. I would still keep working even if I had $1 billion. It is not an infinite amount of money. Story 119. The only chaos might come from my incredible team finding out that I have become a board member. My first order of business will be to ensure everyone is paid substantially more than a living wage. Story 120. What if I get fired? Do I have to maintain it? Can I tell my boss and coworkers? If I had to maintain it for a year, I would be fine. The only difference is I would probably take more time off, not more often, but over a longer timeline. I went home to see family to celebrate my mother's life. She passed about a year ago. I left after work on Thursday, drove 11 hours, arrived around 6 a.m., and slept for a few hours. On Friday, we did some things. On Saturday, we drove up north to see other family, 8 hours round trip in one day. On Sunday, I went to a concert with my sister, and on Monday, I drove home another 11 hours. So in 4.5 days, I spent 30 hours on the road. I am just now really recovering from that trip. If I had $1 billion, I might have flown instead and taken a few extra days because I do not have adequate vacation time. I had to take Friday and Monday off unpaid. Story 121. I am in my 17th year at this job and my 2nd year in my current position at the school. So not too bad. Story 122. I would not buy or change anything until the money is in my account and all taxes are paid after 1 year. Story 123. 1 more year and I will have 20 years at my current company, which was my goal to reach before considering leaving. Story 124. I'd bring cupcakes to work every day and randomly have Uber bring food in for different teams. I take my team to the pub every Friday for lunch. I do absolutely no work, but everyone would say what a top bloke I am and I'd never get fired. I'd spend my time writing a best-selling novel, using my colleagues as the basis for the characters. It's a pretty loose plan, and I haven't given it much thought. Story 125. At many jobs I have had, I could quietly buy the business, have them put me on a remote gig doing the same work, or adjust my hours so I can enjoy the year while doing the work I like. Story 126. That would be no problem at all. I would have much less stress at work knowing all my bills are paid and no debt collectors are contacting me. My children would have an inheritance after I pass, ensuring they are financially secure. Story 127. I am pretty relaxed. I love where I work and typically work from home. It will probably take me a year to get everything together for retirement. Story 128. I would watch golf YouTube videos all day and do the absolute minimum work required. Story 129. I work for a capital defense attorney in Texas, so it will still be worth it to continue working for a year and beyond. Story 130. I will do just enough to avoid being fired. I will not work late on anything unless my job is on the line. Story 131. I love my job, so I'd stay part-time, keep what I need to be comfortable for the rest of my life, pad my mom's bank account, and donate the rest. I do not want to pay taxes on that. Story 132. My family runs a small business, so I suppose we will switch to online sales only and work from home for a year. Story 133. Not at all. I would be able to invest in the business to get it off the ground and expand, set up the founder and myself in far better financial situations, ensure family and close friends are cared for, and use the rest for community outreach and enrichment. While a massive change like that would be chaotic at first as contracts and business plans are written, which I would love, It would ultimately give me peace to see a great idea grow and a community thrive. Story 134. I would reduce my hours, but I have the best job in the world and will likely never fully quit. I would, however, open free gyms across the country, as many as I could afford. I really only need $2 to $3 million to retire. The remaining $997 million would fund the gyms. I hope to expand them worldwide, but I will focus on the United States of America first because I want to take care of my brothers and sisters. Story 135. Laughing because I am unemployed. I am currently job hunting after leaving a toxic workplace, and I really wish I were working at the moment. Story 136. It's totally fine. I love my job, so I might even keep it after the year has passed. Story 137. Do I get the money now? If so, I will spend the year buying food for my coworkers at least once a month and trying to start a union, especially if I cannot be fired during that year. Unionizing the place where I work would be great, but it is not feasible while I rely on them to feed my family. Story 138. I would not take it. I retire next week and have been miserable for almost a year. There is no amount of money that would be worth it. If I were legally obligated to both take the money and keep my job, I would probably end up in jail, but I would try to make it last as long as possible. Story 139. Not chaotic at all. I love my job and would probably keep it for a while until I had a solid plan in place for the money. Story 140. I am a millionaire. My friends do not know. When I consult on transforming their company, it seems like a step down for me. They have seen that I own a very nice car, but I do not drive it to work. I am here to hang out with two close friends and to help the company avoid going under. It is close, but sometimes I do not like that my outgoings do not match my income. Story 141. I need a bit more study to feel comfortable as a consultant. I will work for 12 months and then study full-time for 12 months. After that, I can choose my own hours. Story 142. I am unemployed and disabled. Do I just die after the year is up? Story 143. It's not. We can have cleaners every 2 weeks, and someone can be hired to run errands for us at a living wage. We're good. Story 144. It would become decidedly less chaotic than it currently is. Plus, if I make it one more year, I get to keep the insurance for life. So why not stick around? Story 145. I like what I do. I would probably stay longer, but I would drop a couple of shifts and only work when I felt like it. Story 146. I would love that, to be honest. We should probably try to persuade someone higher up to hire more people. Story 147. Honestly, I would buy my company outright and fix it low-key style. The new owner was looking at your management information program and decided that we are going to fix this. You've spent how much in capital expenditure in the last 10 years? Let's double that. Customers want last-minute orders? Fuck them, they can pay double. Story 148. I delivered mail for another year. It was not much different, except that I used 650 hours of sick leave and 300 hours of annual leave. Story 149. I only have to take one load per month to stay employed at my trucking outfit. I will have a frank conversation with my dispatcher and tell him that if he can get me the shortest load available once a month for the next year, I will buy an expenses-paid vacation to a destination of your choice for him and his partner. I will be hauling eggs from Springfield, Missouri, to Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, once a month and deadheading home immediately afterward. Story 150. You mean the job I plan to have for the next 10 or more years, with career earnings of substantially less than $1 billion? Yes, I would be fine. Story 151. It is not, and if you make it, you are making an unceremonious exit to the unemployment line. Story 152. I should be fine. I do not hate my job, but I am only there for the money. Story 153. I would be gloriously unbothered by the low pay and lack of vacation. Human resources would not even see me. Story 154. I got fired on Monday, so I guess I'm not doing anything but relaxing for a year. Story 155. Does my employer have to know? If not, then I will be the most upbeat, outgoing, helpful team player there could be, only to ghost them after the final day of my one-year obligation. If they know, I do not know. I will probably just try not to tell people to fuck off. Story 156. It's fine. I wouldn't quit my job immediately even if I became rich. Besides, I actually like my job. I just dislike that the pay is low. Becoming a billionaire would solve that problem. Story 157. I work in the emergency room, and I told my coworker that I would work for a bit and then host a small gathering with my favorite overworked colleagues. I am giving each person life-changing money, enough to retire immediately. Story 158. I would still enjoy the career I worked hard for. However, I would reduce my workload. Story 159. I would stir up so much trouble. Oh wait, I already do. Story 160. I wouldn't make any big moves until the job was over, except maybe buy a car that is reliable and not about to fall apart. There are a few coworkers I would help get out of that place. The relief I would feel would be indescribable. Right now, I feel like I'm standing on my tiptoes, barely keeping my nose above water, waiting for the next wave. Fuck. Life is hard when you have no one to help you when you need it. Story 161. I really like my job. I probably would not leave it if I became a billionaire. Story 162. To be fair, my current job involves a lot of international travel. Being a billionaire might actually improve my performance because I am already on holiday at the requested destination. I am not sure the company would be happy with my billing, though, since it would now be a business visit to a 5-star hotel. Story 163. I would invest in my company and hire outside experts to help make it as good as we possibly can. Story 164. My contract does not end until December 26th, so I am coasting until then and there is no chaos. Story 165. I'm unemployed. I can do this for another year or two. Story 166. I am on disability. I cannot continue on disability with that much money. To be honest, my current role is working with my siblings to help manage our parents who are in a home. I am the only one with enough time to take them to appointments that cannot be handled at the home. Story 167. Honestly, I probably wouldn't want to quit anymore if I had that. Story 168. If I'm honest, I would probably still be working as a teacher, but I would at least be able to buy items for my classroom that are wants rather than needs and always have good snacks and treasure box prizes for my students. Story 169. I would keep a job, not my current one. I would go to medical school and then get a job helping people. Story 170. I would have a wonderful last year of working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then stealing my good employees to form our own company. Story 171. Easy, breezy. A year to plan my financial independence and figure out how to make my role part-time since I like my job. Sounds good. Story 172. I would become so absorbed in work that I might forget about my money. I would be scraping together coins to pay for copies at the stationery store and then remember that I am rich. Story 173. I am a medical courier, so my chauffeur and I will deliver your grandmother's medication in a Rolls-Royce. Story 174. I am going to be working this job in a year anyway. All I have to do is exist. Story 175. I work in politics. I have a feeling that my advice would suddenly be taken much more seriously. Story 176. Well, I am going to start behaving like a bitch toward customers who behave that way. Story 177. I have 6 months of paid sick leave and 3 months of unused paid vacation. I will work only my minimum hours for 3 months. Then I will be gone. Story 178. 1 whole year of just painting buildings sounds sweet. For real, I already love my job. Story 179. It's fine because the stress and worry are gone. I'd stay. Story 180. A better question is, how chaotic can I make it? With $1 billion, I will positively radiate, I dare you to fire me energy. And I will have the budget for some truly epic practical jokes. Story 181. My job is occasionally chaotic, but I love it. I have 0 issues with it. Story 182. As a low-voltage data technician, I would be relaxing. I would still perform my duties, but I would take my time and joke more often than not. They would probably fire me. Story 183. I genuinely do not understand the point of this question. Is the chaos because I cannot access the $1 billion until the year is up? Currently, I am not expecting $1 billion, so knowing I will receive a windfall in 1 year is amazing. Is the chaos because I have to keep working a terrible job for a year even with money in the bank? That is not a problem. There is an exit in 1 year versus no exit now. I do not get it. Story 184. Bam. Everyone gets the year off because of my large donation. Story 185. To do that, I'd have to rewind my life a few years, if only because I'm now retired. When I was working, I loved my job until the pandemic, which turned it into a disaster. If I could go back to 2017 or 2018, I'd happily work another year, maybe more, after becoming a billionaire. Story 186. It is fine. I will buy in as an owner and then outsource my role one piece at a time. Story 187. I work for a small charity. 60% of my time is spent asking people for money. Now, I would only have to do the enjoyable parts of my job because a large anonymous donation would mean we would never need to apply for funding again. Story 188. I am an absolute prankster but have toned it way back to be more professional. I would definitely start pranking people again. It is always funny and harmless. It is a great way to pass the time. Story 189. I work 20 hours 1 week and 15 the next. All treatments are free, and both contractors are paid. Their practice expansion projects are financed. Maybe I'll buy them boats. They could each use a nice one. Story 190. I love my job. I would continue working but take more vacations. Story 191. I like my job and I do meaningful work, so it will not be a problem. Story 192. If I can keep my wealth a secret, I think I would quite enjoy it. Story 193. I work from home and love my job. I might even keep working part-time to avoid falling into a depression trap. It would be very hard not to tell my work friends, though. Story 194. It would actually be funny and enjoyable because you would not need to be an arslicker, earn a raise or a promotion, or be a good performer, especially if your manager or employer were a prick. Story 195. I would bribe the company $1 million to keep me legally employed for a year and have fun doing whatever I wanted. Story 196. If we work 2 jobs, do we have to keep both jobs? Or can we choose the full-time job and quit the other? Story 197. Why would I quit working? My old boss was worth a few $1 billion, and he worked with us every day. Story 198. I'd continue working because I enjoy my job and tell no one. Story 199. It would be even better. As a self-employed person, I can buy everything to make my job more comfortable. I probably would not even want to stop working, to be honest. Story 200. I've always thought it would take me half a year to get my ducks in a row. If you're doing it right, there's a lot of planning involved. My goal is to earn a return on that money so I can have a blast giving it away to charitable causes in my remaining years, and I would also spend some on my family. Story 201. I work in an office with a small amount of stress during the year. I would be fine. Story 202. Easy mode. I am disabled, so my priority is to avoid dying. Story 203. If I get fired, do I keep the $1 billion? If so, I will offer my boss $10 million to fire me. Story 204. But does my job have to keep me? I could get fired for calling the chief executive officer an offensive name. Story 205. It would not be chaotic at all because I work for myself. I would begin identifying people to take over my client work and ensure they were not negatively affected by my stepping away. Story 206. I work from home for 4 to 5 hours a day, so it is not at all chaotic. I will have plenty of time to sort things out and prepare for the day I say goodbye to the past and move into the future. Story 207. I'm a part-time waitress, so that is perfectly fine by me. I just give people the service they deserve based on how nice they are and do not care at all about my tips. Story 208. Not at all. I already have a great job that I enjoy, so now I have a large amount of money on top of that. Awesome. I'm buying lunch for everyone all the time. Story 209. I would likely keep my job for the first year regardless of the situation. Why burn bridges and make it a big deal? Coworkers are mostly friends, and the idea of not working is strange to me. I would get bored and would only take more paid time off than I do now. Story 210. No chaos, just fun. I'm a small business owner and I could comfortably do that for another year. In fact, I don't know if I would close the business. I have no reason to. Story 211. Even if this were real, I would not quit my current job. I love bartending so much and all the opportunities it brings and the people you meet. Story 212. I genuinely enjoy my job and have phenomenal bosses. I know I am extremely fortunate in that regard. I would have no problem working for them for another year even if I did not need to. We are a small company with fewer than 20 employees. I would probably request that my salary be divided among my coworkers, since I no longer need it, or invested in quality of life improvements on the floor or in the office. Story 213. My job might not exist in 1 year, so I do not know how to handle this situation. Story 214. Like many others have said, I would continue doing my job as usual and maintain a low profile. That is the boring answer. If I wanted to make it chaotic, I handle important documents for an insurance company. Client companies would be very upset if they were not receiving their checks or other necessary documents. Story 215. Easy mode. I work in building security. Most of it is sitting and watching cameras. Occasionally, I approach someone and ask them to leave. If they refuse, I say okay, immediately walk away, and call the police. Building owners do not want us to get physically involved or even argue. They want us to let the police handle it and to remain safe. They fully support and back us if physical interaction is necessary. I have needed to use physical force once in 4 years, and it was to hurt a homeless woman in her 60s outside who was trying to spit on a group of children ages 3 to 12. Even then, I never had to touch her. She did spit on the police officer who handcuffed her. Story 216. Oh God. Do I have to keep it, or if I get fired, is it all right? Story 217. I like my job, so it would be fine. I would move closer, though. It is in a high cost of living area, and I live an hour away. Story 218. Why would it be chaotic? If I instantly became a billionaire, I would keep my job for at least 5 years. I would do everything possible so that no one could know my financial status. Story 219. Honestly, it would probably complicate some things at my job, but I would not mind. Story 220. Not at all if my coworkers are not informed of my new financial status. Story 221. I am already planning to stay at my job, so nothing will change. Story 222. I'm currently unemployed, so I'm sure I'd get up to some shit. Story 223. My job is not chaotic as it is. It would be even less chaotic if I did not push myself to earn a production bonus. Story 224. Smile and nod. Get therapy and help around the house. Consider hiring doctors to support a fabricated chronic illness that waxes and wanes. Story 225. Nothing would change. I would need to set up the separate accounts for a year and call one of my younger brother's best friends, who is a high net worth account manager at Charles Schwab, to get that started. Other than that, I will keep showing up to work every day, buy a small property and build a house and keep on ticking. After the year is up, each of the 10 other employees who is still working at the company will receive $1 million. Story 226. I work for a nonprofit organization, and becoming an unexpected billionaire would be the one thing that would make my job very easy. I would fund the organization for 50 years, hire enough staff, and fix a whole bunch of things. I would also buy a house and send my daughter for her master's degree. Story 227. Most of my coworkers are cool to be around, so I would not mind. Story 228. I would be the most delightful employee the company ever had on its payroll throughout that year. Story 229. Pretty relaxed, actually. I would stress much less and come and go as I please instead of staying at work until 6, 7, or 8 in the evening and only leaving when my boss does or 30 minutes later. Story 230. There is no way I am going to stay at work. Some of my coworkers are not trustworthy. They would try to sue me if they found out I was a billionaire. They would make an outrageous claim to press charges. I am going straight to the top to cut a deal so I can live the rest of my life in peace and solitude. Story 231. Nothing would change except knowing I had money. I love my job and would keep working at it even if I did not need the paycheck. Story 232. I'm a freshman baseball coach. Why the fuck would I leave? Story 233. Are there no restrictions on how badly I do my job? I am okay with it. Story 234. As a federal employee, I'm not sure of the odds, but I'm going to go for it. Story 235. Perfect. I enjoy where I work and the people I work with. I am my own boss. I come and go as I please. Story 236. It's fine. I probably keep it for a few years anyway. Story 237. I've been doing it for almost 25 years, so one more won't matter. I'll probably still care and do a good job. Story 238. I would buy the kitchen a pair of sharp, working scissors to make things 10 times easier. Story 239. I'm a housewife with no children and 3 dogs. I think I'll be okay. I might have more dogs by the end of the week. Story 240. I don't care about my job in the slightest, but it keeps me on a schedule. If I never had to worry about money again, I think I would keep my job just to have something to do and to keep me from the infinite boredom of having nothing to do. Story 241. Tremendous. I am rich beyond belief and have a job I love. Story 242. I do not have one at the moment. If you count attending college twice a week, then it is easy. Story 243. It is fine. The reason I have my shitty job is it is not overly stressful and I make enough to put some money into savings. Story 244. So I can't quit my job, but there is nothing that says I can't get fired. Somi would get fired in some epic way without ending up in jail. Story 245. I think my job performance would improve. I would be more carefree and not uptight, knowing there is a light as bright as the sun at the end of the tunnel. Story 246. It is not at all chaotic. Many of my worries and reasons for being upset are gone, so I can probably enjoy my workday. Story 247. I own my business and work for myself. Piece of cake. Story 248. As long as no one else knows, it's cool. Good thing I am self-employed. Story 249. Man, I love my job. My team and both my bosses are awesome. The whole company truly cares about employees. I wouldn't be pressed at all to stay. Story 250. Not chaotic at all. We are talking about billions. I just have to increase my tolerance and spend money to calm my temper. Story 251. This is easy. I am already in a place I can tolerate working for much longer than 1 year. Story 252. My line of work is pretty awesome. I get to drink, smoke marijuana, and watch horror movies. Story 253. I am disabled and cannot work, so that is easy to accomplish. Story 254. It is fine for me to continue doing my job. It is a good job. My main issue at work is job security due to external forces. If my employer said they had to let me go because of budget constraints, I would offer to work for $1 a week for a year. Story 255. I am in healthcare. My work ethic would stay the same, but I would be less of a pushover and stop allowing patients to treat me like shit. Story 256. I will earn $1 billion and still complete my Doctor of Philosophy degree. I will be announced as a doctor at my wedding, come hell or high water. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.